Alright everyone, welcome along. Tuppence Tuesday. So we've thrown a lot of terms at you in the last few weeks. I'm looking at both sides of the channel and looks like there's a lot of terms. Now that brings up an interesting topic, doesn't it? But before we go much further into terms and how we can standardize that and make sure that we all understand what we're doing, why don't we all understand that it's a great idea to help and support people by liking and subscribing to their channels. So if you haven't already, why don't you take a moment to go down there, click like and subscribe. Don't forget to hit the bell icon so you get notified when new content's available. In terms of terms, it's really key. People need to understand what's happening. And when you say something, are you sure that those people that you're saying it to are all thinking the same thing? Does what I say mean the same thing to the person I'm saying it to? And that's so important in data analytics. Okay. Anything like that. If your audience has a different definition in their mind for what something says or means, the message has been lost, hasn't it? Now, when you factor that into our most important thing, our 4-stage continual improvement cycle, the plan, do, check, act, whatever else it's going to be called by whatever methodology you choose to use. But really, from my experience, they kind of come down to the 4, and it is often plan, do, check, act that they use as a terminology, although different methods will use different terms. The key thing is change is happening, and you need to manage that change by using a cycle. Now, analytics is very much the same. The core piece of what we want is information. Now, information is difficult for people to understand because, well, we've got to get data first, haven't we? But we need to understand that data doesn't magically appear. It's the result of actions, and then those actions being recorded. And then that data doesn't really make any sense or become information until it's gone through a modeling cycle. So it looks something like this. So we have a physical activity, something is happening, somebody is doing something. We are capturing values from that. So we're somehow something is taken, updated, recorded, so that we have that. When those get put together, that becomes data. So a table of data really is it's a table of values that have been recorded against an action or an activity. Yeah? So we can, that makes sense. We then have to take that and overlay structure to it. So how do those pieces of data relate to each other? So if we looked at an order, is that got a customer? Has that got a shipping to location? Has that got product codes embedded within it? That data starts to get context applied to it. The context isn't fully applied until we start to look at the information side. So actually the analysis layer, where we can start to really draw out the insights and do that analysis of actually how many products were sold in a particular month. But before then, all we've really got is a sale happened or and that sale doesn't necessarily happen unless it gets recorded, does it? Interesting one when you start to think through it. So let's get started with a nice basic one that we've discussed a few times in the last couple of weeks, right? COGS. Right, this is a great one because I see this one and I know it means different things to different people. For all, it's a really well-defined metric. People, oh, well, it means this. COGS, it only relates to labor and material costs, only. But this is the other metric that we've got, cost of a sale. Now, cost of a sale tends to also include, well, tends to more relate not to the actual product that's being sold or what's being sold, but to the ancillary and support activities. So did I have to take the client out to lunch? Did I have to do, have I got to build relationships? There's other things that I need to do to make those sales. Now, take the client out to lunch is probably one of the trickier sides of it, but you're going to have, right, it might be a case of, we need to advertise on TV, we need to do this, we need to do that. All of that can be factored into the cost of a sale. oftentimes when you're discussing it in front of people who don't have that data background, that cost of a sale and cost of goods sold, there's a bit of a blend across them in terms of what people think they mean. Life cycle cost is another one that, well, the total cost of a product life cycle relates to the whole R&D cycle as well up front. And then, of course, you've got your continual improvement cycle, because we love our continual improvement cycles for that product while it's while it's being sold, while it's an active product. So if you're going through and factoring that bit, that's not the same as saying, well, it's going to cost us this amount to manufacture. It's going to take this many hours of staff time to manufacture it, prepare it, warehouse it. That's not kind of there, is it? That's kind of separate to your full life cycle costs. But your profitability of a product, you want to probably take into play, well, understanding, depending on where you're doing it, parts of those three, isn't it? So we're going to want to have, what's the cost of goods sold? So how much does it cost us to produce that product, to then sell it? The cost of a sale. So how much did it cost us to make that sale? And that is then going to give us, at that sale level, a profitability, which is going to be related to the COGS plus the cost of the sale divided by the sale price, which is then going to give us a profitability percentage. Okay, we can work that. That makes sense. When we start talking about the product profitability, though, we aren't just looking at the cost of goods sold for all the products that have been built, manufactured. We're looking at the cost of sale of every product that's been sold or manufactured. We're likely also going to have to look at what's our R&D costs to that, to factor that in, to make sure that we've covered R&D, continual improvement, development costs that are going in. Because hopefully, as our product life cycle continues, we're going to see our cost of goods sold go down, because we should become more efficient, maybe using less product over less time. So it's kind of, you see things change, and over the life cycle of a product, its cost per month might well change. That doesn't even make sense, does it? Over this product, yeah, over the life cycle of a product, what we want to see is that while the costs are going to continually go up, the line, that's what I meant, the gradient, yeah, is going to lessen. So your initial cost might be pretty much a straight line. To get this product to market, it cost us £5 million. So we're straight away £5 million in the hole over, say, a 12-month period. That's what it cost, 12 months. So like that. Okay, then we've got to go, okay, we're starting to manufacture it, so the costs have flattened. And then over time, it's going to get flatter and flatter, so that it becomes a much more steady growth. And then it becomes a profitable product when our total profit exceeds, or sorry, our total sales value, total value of sales. So even I'm starting to think that exceeds the life cycle cost of the product. And only after that happens is it worth considering that, hey, maybe at some point we should replace, retire, renew the product, or continue to develop it. And that's where it gets difficult. So what do you reckon then? Okay. A simple measure like cost of goods sold has so much ambiguity around it. For all, there's no ambiguity about it. But depending on who you speak to, in their minds, it means something different. So getting glossaries of information, making sure people are aware of what's being discussed, is something to do. But I would never just rely on it as a text-based document. You need to make sure that's something that is discussed at a very senior level, so that we know, senior management understand what COGS means versus the cost of sale. Cost of goods sold versus cost of sale. It's like, well, people are going, well, depending on how I'm speaking, they're the same thing, aren't they? And they're not. They're completely different. Life cycle costs as well are one that needs to be understood, because we might turn around and say, I need to replace product A because it just isn't profitable, or it's not, and the profitability is going to be down to quite a short time frame. It stopped being profitable because the cost of manufacture has gone up or there's something else has happened. So we need to replace that product. But the value and the business case for the replacement is going to be based on life cycle profitability, which is going to require an understanding of that life cycle cost. How much does it cost us to sell this product? How much does it cost to manufacture all these products? And it might just be that, hey, do you know what? From the 1st of January 2021, the law changed and we had to do an additional check, or we had to do something else, or the cost of metals has gone up, or the cost of plastics has gone up, or there's, and it's made a product unprofitable now, but we would look to replace it because it was profitable and we can show there's demand for it, just not in the way that we can use now to make profitable. So clarity of analysis and terminology is vital. That whole piece of deriving insight and analytics and getting valuable information out of your data is all dependent on everybody understanding the terms and the metrics that are going to be surfaced. So, pointless if I'm saying, oh, well, my cost of goods sold is, this order here, it's costing me like 5,000 per product to get it out the door, and we're only making 7,000. Meaningless if it's saying, if somebody's sitting there, why is it costing us 7,000 to ship to advertise products? If that whole piece isn't joined up in their minds, you've got a problem. Especially, and you see this with some products where the actual physical cost of the materials is very low. The key thing is you have to make sure everyone is speaking the same language in your business. Your environment requires that. Okay, you will get the most out of the information derived from your actions if that is the case. You can't join directly your analysis to action. That's just not possible. There has to be that recording step. Something is happening and then it is recorded. There is a gap. Okay, we can go to automate the recording as much as possible, and I would definitely recommend that as much as you can. But fundamentally, you've got that gap, and that gap is what we need to make sure there's not a loss in translation there. And then we need to make sure there's not a loss in translation as we start to talk about the insights and the analysis that we're doing based on the data that we've recovered. So I hope you've enjoyed that. I hope I've given you something to think about. I didn't understand that. Like, that was just, whoa, hey. But getting your metrics and getting your KPIs or whatever you're going to use, if it's KPIs, if it's KRAs, if it's OKRs, CMRs, right? Your customer metrics, whatever you choose to do is fine. But you need to make sure that when somebody says a term, everybody understands what that means. And that's part of the whole journey towards data literacy that we talk about that your business has to go through if you're going to become a data-centric organization and make truly data-driven decisions. So I hope you'll come back on Friday. Something for the weekend. Have a great week, though. Stay safe and take care. Ta-da.